Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
Hey, this is Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesbread.com. Today, Jeremy, what are you going to take us to school on?
Hopefully the auto warmer, but I just want to say that this is Jack who proposed the topic. I was not trying to sell my auto warmer, but since it's free, yada, 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 great software. If you want, better deliverability, you could use the auto warmer. And the cast today is going to explain why better deliverability and auto warmer, like what is it, what does it do and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And if you're listening, wondering what the heck Jeremy's talking about, an auto warmer, to my limited knowledge here, is a piece of technology that automatically sends email on your behalf to a controlled group of recipients that are going to automatically respond. And what does this do? And Jeremy, I promise this is the last I'll be explaining stuff in this conversation, but apparently it tells the spam filters that this sender has a good reputation, and therefore it helps your deliverability rate.
Yeah, people used to do it by hand. In fact, if you look at one of our older episodes, we mentioned that a lot of people were just like emailing merchants in order to ask them like for their prices. And so, it's a mouse and whisker type of approach. People think it's a client. They're going to reply to it.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Hat.
Yeah, I it's terrible. Although I did it a little differently. I would reach out, not saying give me pricing, because that is completely not
disingenuous.
Yeah, it's disingenuous something. What I would do is I would try and find another angle. So I'd have another campaign going on that was like inviting people to a podcast, for example.
Okay, that's
and this got a lot of response, and then the other campaign would be doing something else. It's like a easy campaign, hard campaign. But before we go any further, I do have a short list of good questions you should know. But a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by QuickMail's Auto Warmer. We're going to get to that soon. And of course, salesbread.com. Today, most B2B companies lack the time or expertise to turn, cold prospects into qualified leads and booked appointments. So at salesbread.com, we help you generate one lead or booked call every day by using ultra personalized cold emails and LinkedIn outreach, and even some SMS steps, kind of new testing grounds here. So what you want to do if you're looking for some help with this, go to salesbread.com/contact, fill out the form, tell me what you're working on, tell me what you're going after. I'll give you some tips. We can even schedule a call if there's some mutual interesting stuff. And that's at salesbread.com/contact. Jeremy, we're going to talk a whole lot about QuickMail and its famous auto warmer now. So let's just go right to it.
It's getting crazy at the moment with the auto warmer. Like so many people are signing up for it. It's crazy.
So do you want to start there? Yeah, talk to us about why did you build this?
Good question. So half a year ago, bit more than that, I would say. One of our agency, I work very closely with our agency. So one of our agency came up and say, hey, there is this name of competitor, which I won't name. They are actually doing an auto warmer stuff. It seems to be working. And I was like, okay, that's interesting because they're doing it like automatically. And I wasn't quite sure if this would work or not. So I spent probably a good 3 to 4 months thinking like, is that going to work or not? And so this agency said, well, we tried it. It does work. And I really trust this agency. So I decided, okay, maybe let's build it. Other people will need it. And so we built it, and it turns out that, yes, this is true. It does also work. That was that time where we were doing it manually type of thing. Like you got your list, you upload, you contact, and hopefully they reply. But it's even better because now you don't actually need to bother other people. And at the same time, it's all automated. So you don't need to do it yourself as well. So that's why we built it in the first place, is to have deliverability.
And it works. You built it because it works.
Yep, it did. Yeah. It did, especially with new inbox. I think that was. Oh, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you a lot of times. You're gonna have to stop me, Jack. Good. But yeah, especially with new domains, people were just like starting a new domain, and it's very easy to get flagged at the beginning because if you're not getting enough engagement in the beginning, that is really super red flag as to, oh, it's potentially a spammer, or, those sort of things.
Okay. So we need to, we found out why you built it, because it works. You mentioned who's it for, especially new domains.
But
I'd
not
like
only,
to
but
circle
yes.
back to this.
Yeah.
But for right now, I'm a 5-year-old. Tell me what an auto warmer does. How does it work?
I love your beard for 5 years
It's the
old.
beard. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is,
yeah. So what was the question again for 5 years old?
What does it do? How does it work,
do?
Jeremy?
Okay. So
Simple.
Simple. You have you having an inbox with one of the email sender provider. You need to show the email sender provider, like Google or Microsoft or whatever server you're using to send emails, that you're a person people like to interact with, right? Historically speaking, you had two types of people. You had the one who were, and I'm saying like 6 years ago, right? You have the one who actually had the legit emails and they contact their friends, or their coworkers, or, people they actually knew. And so engagement was high. And then you had spammers, and spammers were just like sending lots of emails. Everyone ignored them, flag them as spam and don't like it and so on. But the middle was kind of missing. And this is when, 6 years ago, when QuickMail started and other people, we sort of like opened this automation for sales. There were automation for emails like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, stuff like that, but not so much for sales. And so the sales is a different thing, because technically you can do it without necessarily willing to spam people. So you could send a few good emails just to check the water, like, are you guys interested in something like that? And not having a list of people potentially interested. But of course, the engagement is way lower than if you're contacting, your friends, or if you're contacting your colleagues. So there is like a sort of like middle ground category now, right? And if you're doing cold email badly, no one will engage with your email, and so you will be perceived as a spammer. Now, the problem, or if you're like on the line, like, you're not having a campaign that works as well as if you're contacting your friends, which for, it's like for everyone pretty much, right? Then you need a sort of like deliverability booster, something that shows that your email get engaged. So the email sender provider, Google or whoever, is not going to block your emails.
Right.
So that makes sense. A bit long-winded, but yeah.
Yeah. So my 5-year-old self would have wandered off and started to play with a puddle or something. I don't know. But this sounds like it fills this gap. There's a ratio between good and bad. Let's say emails received. You basically want to prove that you're someone that typically gets responses. And if an inbox is just for cold email, then a lot of times it is going to get zero response. Let me rephrase that. Lower response, so that the sending providers are going to say there's something weird going on. They don't get enough engagement.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So we know what it is. We know kind of how it works, but take us to this question that I do wonder here is like, people sign up for the auto warmer and then they get a message from an auto warmer and then they actually reply to it, but they never see it. Like, do you use like an API to respond? Okay. Do you need to go there? Is it kind of straightforward?
Well, you could just wonder like, okay, how does it work? How do you actually, improve the engagement automatically? And I think this is a good question. And the reason why I had my doubts initially was that, well, if you generate some sort of like fake engagement through automation, it's going to be very easy to spot, for Google and whoever. Turns out that one of the good advantage we have as cold emailer is that a lot more tools nowadays help you use the API for sending totally 100% legit emails, like to your customers, to whatever. They all suddenly start using the API. And so that means that now it's very difficult for an email sender provider to figure out like, are they automating this sending of emails, or are they really sending them themselves? Is no more the question, right? To determine if they're legit or not. Where in the past, I think it should have been possible, but now there's so many applications that use the API that it's it's kind of like, it's not as straightforward as that
They
anymore.
expect it almost.
Yep.
Okay.
Like if you're in your
that makes
CRM
sense.
and you want to answer straight away, I don't know, your clients or stuff like that, then you can definitely just write something, send the email, and you wouldn't expect Google to stop you because you're actually communicating with people. It could be also with your team, stuff like that. Not everyone's using the Gmail
in
API
short,
anymore, or the Gmail interface
more anymore. So more legitimate mails are being sent through an API.
That's
today.
right. That's right.
People are using Zapier and
that's why it works.
Stuff.
That's why the engagement does work.
Okay, so let's talk about when it works. Brand new accounts. How long does it take?
Great question. I got a lot of that. People, especially in agencies, they go ahead, they create their own domain for their new clients, and they ask me, how long do I need to warm it up? So I have two kind of answer to this one. The easy one, first of all, word of caution. This is a black box. It keeps changing. It could be changing next month without us knowing it. It's not like Google or Microsoft will just say like, guys, we are going to release something. We're changing a few parameters. Please adapt your softwares, right?
Yeah.
Never happened.
Right.
But we do find it. But it is a black box. So our test shows that roughly to warm up an inbox, it takes between 2 and 3 weeks, which, by the way, it's cool for our agencies because they basically create a trial account for their clients and they got like 2 weeks for free, like warming up stuff. And then after that, they just convert into, a paid account for their clients.
2 to 3 weeks, right?
2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. But here's the caveat. There is a caveat here. It depends on your volume that you're intending also to send. And a good auto warmer should have a certain ratio between the number of emails you're sending as totally cold versus the number you're sending through your auto warmer, right? So you're warming up your inbox slowly. Ideally, you have some type of ramp up, and we do have in QuickMail. I think we ramp up by 2 more emails every day. But you can, for example, say 10 emails a day on your auto warmer on 10 emails cold email. That's a 50-50% ratio. That works fine. I think the ratio you have will be between if you want to send, let's say, 100 emails a day. I think 10% is okay. 10 to 20% should be your auto warmer type of emails. But it depends highly on how much engagement you get with your actual cold email.
Yeah.
If you get a good engagement, you only need a little bit of booster, right? Like, for example,
not at all. If you get an 80% reply rate, you don't need that. Is your warm up.
Exactly. So for my own personal inbox, like my work inbox, I just don't use the auto warmer. It's like, what for? There's no real need. But for my outreach inbox, and I do interact with my outreach inbox, we do have about 20% reply rate, which is a good one. And I do boost it with 5 to 10 emails a day. And then that's good.
Right. All right. So do you have math for us to help us figuring out, 2 to 3 weeks, but
10 to 20%.
Hey, Jeremy, I want to, of the cold email volume.
Yes.
So 100 emails a day means send 10 auto warmers a day.
Yeah. 10 to 20. I would
that
say.
Includes follow-ups.
Well, that includes like normal emails per day.
Started.
Yeah, that does include follow-ups. You're right.
Cool. Okay. So a question, and this is going to be kind of funny, but like, how do you write the responses that an auto warmer will send? It's kind of like gobbledygook, right? Like it could be applesauce, monkey nose or something, and Google doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, you just ask question like, hey, do you have a lighter, cigarette lighter, or some, random questions.
And that's good.
Like,
and that's fine.
Whatever. You could, but we have like actually, this is a good point. One of our competitors, they actually came up with the auto warmer ID, and kudos to them for that. But I think they have a lot more marketing than they actually have some text for it. Point is that a lot of things that they're doing is they're using fruits, vegetables, animals, and stuff like that in their auto warmer text. But you have to think like, I'm not a zookeeper. Like, I'm not serving zookeeper, or I'm not like, sending vegetables. So my code outreach will not be aligned with the actual, outreach that I'm sending. And it makes no sense. So with QuickMail, what we decided to do Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was excited.
I was just going to say
when I talk about quick mail.
Good. Keep it going. I was just going to add that the computer scientists at Gmail are smart enough to know if there's oddball stuff coming out, right? So
I'm not 100%
it's a good idea to be on theme.
I'm not 100% sure, but it is definitely very different, right? In that sense. So this is something to verify probably, but it looks it's like it's not aligned. So it's odd.
But what did you do? You were starting to say what you did.
Yeah, so we took a different approach. We could use a GPT-3, which honestly will work absolutely wonder, because then even a human won't be able to see the difference, right? But I think it's like one step like too much, like it's not needed at this stage. We may go there in the future. Yeah. Right now, I don't think this is needed. So what we used instead is something in between. I do what we call like chaotic sense. And basically what it is like, you kind of read it, kind of makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, right? And we use basically my book as on-call email, on-call outreach. So it's like professional language that you use every day about, work to work, business to business. And we basically scramble the sentence and the words so that it looks like a legit sort of work email. And sometimes I even open them. It's like, what the hell? Oh yeah, it's my auto warmer. It's like, it's a good sign, right?
So honestly. Wait, you scramble sentences around and then the words then? Why didn't you just grab random sentence? Just kind of like a geeky question.
You could, but you have to imagine we got thousands of people on it. So it will look like, those sentences will be always sort of the same.
It needs to be original.
Exactly. I got like a big,
look at that,
a big sort of book like to act with, but definitely we have enough inboxes, so it becomes problematic.
That's fair point.
But here's the funny thing is, there is like a scientific, scientific quote unquote conference where they were accepting paper. Like they do a call for paper, you send a paper, and if you're accepted, then you go and then do the presentation to those doctors or physicists or PhD people that come and attend it, right?
Okay.
And those people been having fun. They actually wrote something that create chaotic sort of sentences, which makes sense but doesn't make sense kind of thing. They submitted it, and then the guys just accepted them. And so they went and did a presentation. So, even humans sort of can be fooled with that. So,
that's terrible. And those are the people writing our medical school books. This is terrifying. Okay.
Right. But
so, all right,
let's things like them. I don't know how to say it, but it's like that. So you read it, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. Right.
It feels right, but it isn't.
I think it's the other way around. It's like, the sentence makes sense grammatically speaking, but the meaning means it's like so weird. It's like out of space kind of meaning. Like sometimes I have to find back some examples, but the subject sometimes is like, what? It's like, oh, all right, okay, got it.
All right, so crystallizing this, it matters more about mixing up the content so that each auto warmer is unique compared to having sentences that
makes sense
are actually correct. The bots and the people apparently can be fooled. Now let's get practical, Jeremy. Let's say I'm either an agency who's picking up a new client, or I am a business who has had a real problem with spam filters in the past.
Question:
does an auto warmer replace the need to trash a domain and buy a new one? What practice are we doing now?
Could be. So basically, when your domain reputation goes to trash, you have like two choices. The first one is having a step back and leaving the auto warmer, keeping doing these things. And that works. It takes about
per month.
Exactly. It takes about 4 weeks minimum, I would say, to sort of reset the reputation. Right. So you have to leave
Good time to take your vacation, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, what's option 2 if we don't have a 4-week vacation?
Option 2 is effectively you create a new domain and you're warming up for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Ideally 3.
However, it's nice when that domain hits the 30-day mark, because then it gets off of a mandatory blacklist, right? So it's
only if it's a .com. And by the way, stay away from .co, because .co has been notorious for being spammy. And you who attended a startup, you listeners who attended a startup weekends, you know why? Because they basically gave it for free. Like, hey, here's a .co domain. Go ahead and then spam people. So avoid the .co, I would say.
Fair.
The .io or the expensive domains actually works great because, well, it's too expensive for,
Right.
spammers somewhere to just create lots of them. .com works well, but like you mentioned, they go into fresh domains for 30 days. And I think you also got a 45, but those are like minimum, it's not so big of a problem. It's just like, it gets you a little bit of points on your deliverability, but not much at all. Or I got a .net as well.
Option 3?
Yeah, option 3 is using a .net. So I would say .net, .com are great, great way of doing it.
Okay. So we've covered some ground here, Jeremy.
Yeah, I just want to be clear.
Anything else here?
Yeah, when it actually does warm up, stick with it. Like, don't turn it off. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's hot. Let's turn it off. Like, and let's start doing cold outreach. No, keep it on. Just keep it on.
Help me out. So let's elaborate here. What's the drawbacks to using an auto warmer?
Okay, so you have a few drawbacks. Like, one of the use case of more and more of my agencies, actually, more and more are looking to use the actual inbox from the clients. This is not something we used to have in the past, but that happens. And I think part of it is because a lot of agency had problem with deliverability. And so they decide, well, why don't we use a shortcut and use, the client inbox? And so that happened. But one of the drawback is that the client get confused. Like, what are those emails? Especially if they make sense. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so, that's a little bit of, education here. And two things I would say about this one. The first one is that at QuickMail, what we do is we auto archive them after a while. So you don't end up with like 500 auto warmer and you have to find, where's my valid email in between, already. So you don't have that. Yeah. And the second one is that you can't auto archive them as soon as you receive it. You kind of have to leave it a certain time because or variable time. So we checked roughly around every 10 minutes. So it stays in the inbox for between 0 and 10 minutes kind of thing. And I think it's good as well because, again, it's not like an automated kind of thing that happens right away.
Cool.
And so it's a bit more legit as well.
Right. So I'm kind of curious what you would say if someone said, Jeremy, we started using our client's inbox, or again, if you run the company or you run the sales department, you're like, I want to use my own inbox, like you do, sure, right? To send your mails. But if I'm already sending 50 emails a day out of my inbox for work, and these are like work related emails to colleagues, employee, whatever, how important is an auto warmer? And it's okay if you say it is, it isn't. I don't know. What do you take? What's the downside, right?
Well, it's like, Jack, I'm driving down the street to the grocery. Do I really need my seatbelt? I'm not going more than 20 miles an hour or something like that. It's like, sure, you can. Make sure you don't bump into something. And I think this is always the same, answer is that imagine like 3 of your users are flagging you as, phishing attempt or something like that. This is very quickly getting your domain into a blacklist, right? So you have to be slightly careful about that. Most people will flag on spam, which is kind of okay. But when people will flag you as phishing attempt, that could have bad consequences very quickly. So I would say,
interesting.
In general, and I'm obviously, I'm the scarecrow here, but in general, you should be okay not to need any auto warmer. Like, I don't, but I also don't do a lot of cold outreach on my main domain. And when I do, I make sure the volume is really low. Like, I limit like to, just a few emails per day.
Good point.
Something small.
Good point about the volume. I would say it's nearly all about the volume then.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the engagement that you actually manage to generate.
Fair.
One thing that we do, and I think people need to understand as well when the auto warmer, is that we don't just like send emails, we also reply to those emails. So we generate some real engagement in terms of replying to the emails. But also what we do is when we find one of our emails, or one email of our client is being sent to, beg your pardon, when an email of our client is being sent to a spam folder, like it ended up in spam, what we do is we unspam it. And that actually just mentioned to the email sender provider that actually this email was not spam. It's a wrong, category. And so we remove that and we mark it as read. And then after a while, we sort of like, auto archive it automatically. So Again,
This is all the activity you're hoping you could get from actual recipients, but
yeah,
it's
we're
just
not,
being done
we're
more
not
regularly.
generating some clicks and stuff like that. I think you will need to have access to the Gmail interface, which Gmail may be able to do. I think those guys are good. They also have an auto warmer, by the way. You may want to check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
give kudos to good competitors. I think Gmail is a good one.
Okay. I like to hear that. So, Jeremy, did I miss anything before we talk about future stuff? I want to get your take on trends and see how wrong you think I might be on certain things in the future. Anything else? I mean, think about it. I'm an agency. I'm a cold email sender. What do I need to know? Did we miss anything? It takes 2 to 3 weeks to get a bad domain out of the Google jail. It has very little drawbacks. You may find that you keep it turned on, and you're probably not going to need to swap out a new domain. And if you do, yeah. So we covered a lot of ground here.
Yep. There's probably one other thing that I would say is that right now, just when we consider the landscape, they've been popping up like mushrooms recently, those tools. And I see like every day when I'm talking, taking sales calls, demo calls and stuff like that, I just like, hey, what's your current stack? And so they're mentioning a few of those like new names popping up, and pretty much every day I hear like a new one. I would say it's okay. It may work, but I will not vouch for them at the moment. It's very difficult to figure out which one is actually working and which one are just capitalizing on the opportunity. Because honestly, we got it for free. And from what we know, we're doing a pretty good job at it. So I'm wondering like, what else do they actually do? Like, seriously do that actually justify the price for some of them. And some of them have like really good marketing stuff, like blah, blah, blah. But in fact, like advanced AI or advanced whatever, it's like, nah, it's just some bunch of ifs, at the end of the day. So
interesting.
I would say put it with a grain of salt. And I'm not trying to sell you, the quick mail one. You could just go for GMAS. I think it's a good one too. I love the founder. He's really technical as well. He's not marketing BS. So kudos to you, AJ. I think he's also a good dude. So if you want to use his auto warmer over my quick mail one, fine, no problem with that. If you want, the quick mail one, fine too. If you want another one that you have to pay for, just wonder like, what are you really paying for? Is it like more like the security of like, oh, I'm buying something, or is it like real? At the end, I don't see it as a technical person. So,
okay. Do you have any pulse on what a sender may be able to see in terms of improvements when they use an auto warmer, Jeremy? I mean, it's fine if it's a ballpark. I'm just curious if it's like
an easy
dramatic
20% improvement
20%.
On a new domain. It's an easy 20% improvement.
Cool.
Like if you start straight away cold emailing, you may get like 60% open rate versus an 80% open rate if you had it warmed up. So you're closer to the limit if you don't. Yeah, exactly. It's a no-brainer. You're closer to the limit if you don't have an auto warmer. Like it could very quickly just go to the wrong thing, and you have like, it's like running without any safeguards, kind of thing. Like if you miss it, you go for the wall straight away.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any. It's hard to imagine a use case where you wouldn't want an auto warmer today. Now, this is a great segue talking about tomorrow here. So,
okay,
I've always thought that our brothers and sisters in the SEO space are like 2 years in front of cold email.
Are they?
In terms of trends? Yes, and I think it's because Google's main thing is search. And so their priority is search, and SEOs like cold emailers are hacky, and we want to find stuff that works. And if it works for a little bit, we're going to exploit it until it doesn't, and then we'll change up. Okay. So we saw link pyramids in the early 2000s. Hey, you could go on, what website was it? It was like today's Fiverr, but it wasn't. It was like, hey, for $10, I'll make link pyramids or link farms. Now, I'm going to go on record saying in 10 years, we ain't going to be doing auto warmer stuff.
No,
it will be replaced with something else. It might be reputation based. It might be something I have no idea about. But I don't think it'll be here for the long haul. Now, challenge me on that. Talk to me about what you think, and bear in mind, everybody, if it works now, use it now. I'm not afraid to get short-term results, even if I've got to change it up. I mean, how many times has the cold email game switch stuff on us?
Plus, you have to
It's
think
constant.
that, like even the big cold outreach tools and software out there are forced, and I say forced, to start, developing an auto warmer, because lots of clients are leaving them just because they don't have an auto warmer. So whether they like it or not, they're actually forced to do that, which is funny to watch, honestly. But I'm a pragmatic, so I say, like you, Jack, just use it at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's clear to me that this is something that is bound to disappear and morph into something else soon, right? And I'm saying soon because right now it's like super hot, and I think it's because it's super hot, it starts to attract attention. And so at some point, for Google, it's pretty easy to stop it. For Microsoft, it's a bit harder. But for Google, I think it's pretty easy to stop it once they, well, I'm not going to say how they're doing it, but they could figure out a few things that are pretty easy to spot on, and then, make an, put it to an end.
If anything, it sounds like
It's like those
an action
farms in Facebook.
Right.
It's the same thing.
I'll make your YouTube video get 200,000 views, and I'll just
for $20 only.
do something. Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough. So look, I mean, if you think about it in that light, it's interesting because it almost makes me think you should jump on this train sooner than later, because it really, it could be gone in a year, and you'd be left with 20% worse open rates if you didn't take advantage of it when you could, right? If I could go back to 2016 again, I would be labeling myself as the bulk sender. I'm going to get more emails out the door. You can guarantee it.
What's awesome, and I really love that, the conversation really changed. Like now, whenever I ask, like, what's your volume? They all say like between 100 and 500 2 weeks max. And I'm like, wow, boy, the conversation changed. In the past, it was like, how can I send 1,000 per day? I'm like, and I had to do a lot of education, right? But now it's like so much nicer. Now they are really looking at the right thing for me, which is like automation, how to save time, how to make, things working seamlessly, and so on.
Teamwork, yeah.
Exactly. Actually, I see more of that, actually. More and more team activities, which is awesome.
Okay. So did we leave any stone unturned here?
I don't think so, but if you have some questions, you could always send, email at podcast@quickmail.io, or you could check out our course as well. Just got a client today thanking me for that, which is awesome. Always happy to hear it. And do you have a pitch for it, Jack? Don't leave just yet, guys. So there's more.
It's going to be good. Are you ready? Yeah. So if you like the podcast topics, if you think Jeremy and I know, well, let's call it like it is, more than you in the world of cold email, the course is where we archive all of our lessons for executing good cold email. I mean, Jeremy, I think you told me it's mandatory for every QuickMail employee to go through the course, because it's the fastest way for them to understand and execute good cold email, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's we see a lot of companies now that just say, you know what, go take the course as kind of a faster, less expensive way to train someone to be
they don't have to, honestly. Let's be honest with our listener here. They could listen to the 400 episodes that we did if they don't, if they don't like things well organized in chapter, in sections per week, and improving in 4 weeks. I think, or 8 weeks, sorry. Sure. So they could listen to the 400 episodes or 200.
Yeah, you'd get a lot. You'd miss out on some of the walkthroughs, but look, it is definitely there. And the nice thing is you could try it risk-free. Just go to the course.quickmail.io and play around with it for 4 weeks. And if it doesn't blow your mind, like we say it will, you don't have to pay for it. Got a nice little guarantee there. So check out course.quickmail.io. Jeremy, thanks for taking us to school on all things auto warmer. I know that I'm way more excited about the technology now, and thanks for kind of pulling back the curtain, because it used to seem like this black box.
It is still a black box.
Yeah. Fair point. But at least now we know it works now.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, you bet.
Awesome.
All right, Jeremy. See you next time.
Bye-bye.